Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Yankees Farm Report. Once again, I'm not Carlos, I'm Marcus. We're here with John and Toby. We're going to talk about the Yankee farm system, of course, but we're going to take a look at each level, Carlos's prospects of the week, and have that be a branch off into a discussion about some of the promotions we've seen recently, some of the returns that the Yankees have gotten from players who started the year on the IL. Talk about what maybe the overall health of the farm system looks like once we get towards the end of things here today. But we're going to start by shouting out Elmer Rodriguez, who made his major league debut today, held his own, gave the Yankees a chance to win. And it's really cool that we interviewed him on this podcast over the winter and talked to him about potentially being a major leaguer. And here he is a few months later, that dream being realized. So that's the case for all the guys we're going to talk about tonight. Hopefully they get to realize that dream. All right, so we're going to start with prospects of the week in Tampa. And on the player side, we've got Bryce Martin Grudzielanek. Now, I saw him a bit in spring training, but John, what are your early impressions of him? Because he got up to a slow start. How is he looking about a month into the season?
I mean, I've liked the stuff that I've seen of him. I'm trying to see what he's doing. So he's not in the second game, but he hit I think it was a winning RBI that did the walk-off in the first game of the doubleheader tonight. Um, and he's there's a bunch of gems that they have in the 2025 class, but the fact that they picked him 20th round and he's producing as well as he is kind of speaks to the amateur scouting department and all. I mean, they've done such a good job on the pitching side, and you could say that they whiffed on the position players. You know that there's some that they've struck gold on, like all the first rounders like George Lombard and maybe Volpe. You know, he made the majors, so in that case, you could say they struck gold on him. Um, but there's him and Jackson Lovich is another one that deserves a lot of kudos with because he's a 16th rounder and he's right now he's batting 238. He's hitting the ball hard. But the two of them, I mean, that's quite a left side of the infield that Tampa has right now, especially with Kilby still being on the IL.
Right. And that's like a Christmas present you get to open here pretty soon, hopefully. Now, Toby, I know you talked about Lovich before. I mean, you watch that guy play. Does that look like a guy you would take in the round where he went, or look like somebody a little bit better than that?
Yeah, he looks like someone way better than that. I mean, just the frame on its own. I mean, that's just a world-class athlete. And then, I mean, like John, you mentioned, he's hitting the crap out of the baseball, to say it lightly. And, while the average may still be low, the strikeout concerns are still there. That sounds an awful lot like a lot of the other guys in the system that are his size and a lot of the other guys that have come through and that are on the big league club now. So, great value there in the 16th round. I'd say definitely a guy that I would have expected, like maybe a team to take a flyer on in the 10 to 12th round range, especially since he was an SEC bat.
Yeah, and he can play in the middle of the field, which it's crazy, and it is a great find, and it's like you talked about the strikeouts. If you're going to strike out, give us something else to look at, and you've given us something else to look at so far. Now on the pitching side, the pitcher of the week, Alan Facundo, probably a good time to talk about the fact that he's not in Tampa anymore, John. And would you say well deserved?
Yeah, and I thought he should have started the year in Hudson Valley to begin with, with everything that we saw from him last year. Um, And even last year, aside from the fact that he was coming back from injury, I thought that after he came back, he should have been in Hudson Valley. I get them kind of slow playing him a little bit and giving him time to be out of the crowd because the tank held like 500 people. So, and even still now, I mean, they're still not drawing a whole ton of people. There's no attendance for today's game yet.
Friends and
But
family, I think it said.
like I congratulated him. I briefly spoke with him the other day. I said, "You're gonna love Hudson Valley. It's beautiful up there." He said, "I can't wait. I've heard so many good things about Hudson Valley, and he's grateful for the opportunity, of course, and it's exciting. It's always exciting when you get an international player like that they have no idea what to expect. They've never been in cold weather. I mean, it's not really cold up north anymore, but it's also not 90 degrees like it is down here."
I was gonna say, I beg to differ.
it's like I said, it's not 80s, 90s like it is down
Right.
here.
Yeah.
So it's something to him for him to get used to. But that could be good because you look at the turnaround that like a Jason Dominguez had when he got from Tampa to Hudson Valley, and this you could say the same thing with Rodrigo Arias. He looked so much better in Hudson Valley than he did in Tampa.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you about, since you've been around him, is I'm interested in Facundo's energy after he strikes people out,
Yeah,
what do you think about that?
you
What's
know
the
that's
personality like?
it's not a who's the I think I saw him in Binghamton the other day. Jeffrey Yan, I think, is the guy that
Yeah.
does the
Yeah.
yeah, he's not Jeffrey Yan, but it's I'm cool with that, because you're showing off, you're excited, but you're not really showing up the batter like a Jeffrey Young strikeout.
Yeah, and I've seen him do it in the dugout after guys
Yeah,
hit home runs and things like that. So you're right. I don't think he's showing it. Your first blush is he's showing somebody up, but I don't think
yeah,
he
but
is.
but I mean, I've seen way more emotion out of even American players than someone like him, you
It's
know.
Yeah.
2026 and everybody's got a K strut and a stare. So yeah.
And even like, so what happens if he gets a big bat flip? I mean, that's the same thing
Yeah.
as a big punch out reaction. So
Yeah. Yeah. Toby, a Facundo, a starter or a reliever for you, you think long term?
Long term, I don't really know. I need to see a little bit more to really decide. And I feel like with the Yankees especially, it could really go either way with a lot of their prospects. He's got qualities that make me think he could be a really, really, really good, like high leverage type reliever, though. Gets a
mm,
ton of whiff, gets a ton of swing and miss. The stuff plays really well. Hitters have a really tough time barreling the ball up. So, I mean, as a floor of a really good high leverage reliever, I would be totally fine just saying that. If we can get starts out of him, even better. But I think long term, when you're thinking about if he's playing up at the highest level, we're likely going to have arms that are going to be in the rotation over him.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I'm not mad that he's starting, of course, but I see him as a reliever and potentially a really good one. And I think the next few months are really important for him. He was Rule 5 eligible this offseason. And if he has the rest of this year looks like his first month, then, he's back in that 40-man conversation again. Uh, on the Tampa side here, John, Tampa's getting some guys back, or some new guys, if you want to call them that. 14th rounder Brennan Stuprich got activated. Bryce Walker is back with Tampa here off the IL. Matt Hewer started today. Henry Lalane off the IL. Which of those guys are you really interested in?
I'm excited to see Matt Cure in person. I saw the stream. I looked at the data. The data that I saw, and I tweeted this out a little bit ago, is almost identical with a little bit more velo of Mariano Rivera's cutter, and his cutter is his number one pitch. Apparently, that's
Threw a
that
lot of them today, didn't he?
he that yeah he that was the pitch that he leaned on the most. But at the same time, he had a 33% called strike and whiff rate. So I mean, I'm gonna go with that. If that's your number one pitch and that's what you're gonna get, sure, I'll go with it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of odd to see a starter lean on a cutter like that. His fastball didn't really look impressive. It didn't have any life. It was just kind of flat, no rise or anything. It was sitting 95, 97. The cutter was sitting about 94-ish. Um, and he threw a curveball, which was okay. That was upper 70s. But he threw a slider, and the slider was kind of slurvy. It was kind of I don't really know how to describe it, but it wasn't a traditional slider sweeper kind of a horizontal break. But with the way that the Yankees can manipulate these pitchers and get them to do different things and enhance the quality of pitches, I'm really excited to see what they have in him,
Yeah, that's
in the long run.
a guy who got a lot of attention in the offseason before he threw a professional pitch as
Yeah.
a top 20, in some cases top 15 or top 10 prospect in the system by different publications. So yeah, that's a guy we've been anticipating, and I don't think anything happened today to dim that excitement.
No.
Toby, anybody on Tampa who we didn't mention yet specifically you want to bring up?
I'm excited for Bryce Walker. I mean, he was so reliable out of that Hudson Valley bullpen last year. I mean, to say I'm not excited about him, I think that would be a lie. He was so good last year. I think he had like I'm looking at it right now because I tweeted about it late last year. 205 ERA in 40 games, 100 batters faced, like like 25 to 5K to walk. Like his stuff was just great. I mean, it's the classic, Yankee reliever that you're seeing in the farm system. So I'm excited to see him back and to see him get going again.
Yeah, and that's a guy who makes the basketball team, right? As well.
I'm not,
He's a big guy. Am I
he
not?
is?
Yeah. Right? Am I wrong? Isn't Warwick really
Oh,
tall?
Yeah,
he
yeah, he's
is
Yeah,
6'8".
6'8",
that's
225,
what
yeah.
I meant. Uh, what do you
He,
think? Is he's a Somerset guy by the end of the year? You would
I'd hope
think.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't this is not a demotion, right? Starting in
No.
Tampa. This is coming off the IL. That's more of what this is.
yeah, and the transactions that's considered rehab for him. So,
Yeah. Okay.
um, and I just to add, he threw 1.2 innings pitched of perfect baseball. No hits. He didn't walk anybody. No hits. No strikeouts though. Um, I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. Any day of the week.
Hmm.
All right. Moving up to Hudson Valley. Prospect of the week, Caden Kent. And I don't know. For me, don't know if I've seen a better hitter in the farm system so far this year. Toby, so far, Caden Kent, what are your impressions?
All he does is just flat out hit the ball. I mean, you get these like I don't really know what the word would be, but when you draft a former big leaguer's son, you start to get, higher expectations, I feel like, for him. And I don't remember what his stats were when he came out of the draft, but I don't think he really blew anyone away in his short little cup of coffee after the draft.
No.
This year he's completely blown me away. I think over the last 7 days coming into today, he was hitting like 480 and an OPS north of 1200, almost at 1300.
Yeah.
So the kid's doing everything but just hit, and he's starting to flash a little bit more pop too recently. I think he had a bomb last night.
It hit a bomb last night.
So I mean, he's showing that he's just got a really impressive hit tool. That college really prepared him well for the professional ranks, and he's going to be a stock riser in the system, that's for sure.
I think so too. And drafting him where they did this, I don't know that you could have asked for a better start for him. And it's passing the test on the number side and on the passing the eyeball test too, because the swings look good. And even it's funny, I was thinking last night because I was watching the Hudson Valley game and it was they're playing the Blue Claws and so it's the road announcers and MILB TV. And I thought, thank God this kid doesn't have to sit and watch himself play because all they do is talk about his dad the whole time that he's up. So like you said, the bloodlines are important, but man, he at some point he's gonna hope to stop asking or answering questions about his dad and start talking about himself, and he's putting himself in that conversation. Um,
And
on the sorry, go ahead, John.
just real quick to add, during the breakout game, before the breakout game, Brian Hoke, myself, and Steven Cusimano interviewed him among other players. And like you're saying, half the questions were, what's it like growing up around, and then now your dad's going to be in a Hall of Fame. What's that's like? But one of the things that impressed me most with one of his responses was the fact that the Yankees are having him play the entire infield from first base to third base. And he's open for that. He's like, just put me wherever. As long as I can get my at bats, I want to know how to play everything because that makes me be diversified. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he was getting across. And I
Yeah,
love that mindset. I don't want like I've interviewed a few players that are like, I'm a shortstop, like an A-Rod.
yeah,
I'm a shortstop. I'm a third baseman. Don't put me out of position. This is what I want to do. And the Yankees, I mean, you can see the Yankees even with like a Ryan McMahon where they had him playing shortstop. It's out of position. He learned, he's kind of going with it. The Yankees are doing that. He said that they're doing that to everybody,
hmm
just so that everybody can be diversified and we can find a role for them because there's some positions like on the left side of the infield that they're really deep in, and then you get first base and there's nothing.
yeah. And organizationally, you can't say that they've got golden boys. Lombard's playing two positions, so you
Yeah,
Yeah.
can't really make the claim. And look, it's to Kent's benefit. He'd be doing himself a disservice by saying I'm a this or I'm a that. Because
Yeah.
defensively, I don't know that he profiles at one position where you'd say, God, I don't want to play him anyplace else. So I think that's my next question is I'm really starting to believe in the hitter here. Is he a second baseman?
If he's going to play anywhere, it's going to be second base.
yeah.
Which I think would be great. an offensive second baseman who can hold his own defensively. It's nice to have a Gold Glover, but
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm excited about the hitter right now. On the pitching side, Bryce Cunningham comes back last night and pitches. So good to have Bryce Cunningham back. I thought he looked good. John, your impressions of him because you've seen him before. What does Bryce Cunningham add to the farm system now he's back on the mound?
I was actually kind of frustrated that we didn't get a rehab stint with him in Tampa, and he went straight from extended spring up to Hudson Valley, but it is what it is. I only saw the one. It was regular spring training, like his first outing, and I think it was the slider that he threw that showed a lot of movement. I was really impressed. I don't exactly remember what it was because there's no data or anything. You're just kind of going off the eyes. Um, I want to say that's what it was. I've never seen him in person. I've
Mm,
never seen him throw in person. I've only ever seen like Hudson Valley feed or whatever.
yeah.
So I can't really speak to that, but
I've heard about the changeup, and I felt like that changeup was there. I thought I saw two breaking balls. I thought I saw a slider and curve last night. So I thought the stuff looked good. He wasn't popping any 98s, but I didn't expect that. So him pitching, that's good enough. Be on the mound and not on the IL, and that's a win. Uh, anybody on the hitting side here, Toby, in Hudson Valley that we should be talking about other than Caden Kent?
Honestly, I mean, I really haven't seen anyone that's like, and I'm sure obviously that there are names, but in terms of hitters, it's really been all Caden Kent as far as what I've been looking towards. So, I mean, no disrespect to anybody else on the Renegades, but I mean, it's hard to really outshine what Caden Kent's doing right now.
Yeah, and that's not unfair, I think. And I do think there's a lot of guys who you'd like to watch here, but we're gonna have to watch them a little bit longer before they're gonna surpass what we've seen so far from Caden Kent. I do
Right.
know that lineup has. I know the Yankees talk about being too left-handed. Hudson Valley, I think their first seven hitters in the lineup are left-handed, so that's what they might call a lane for left-handed pitchers. Not a big deal in the minor leagues. So moving up to Somerset, as both Jack Siebert and Ben Grable did this past week. I gotta say, I was surprised at the speed of this. So, John, how about your take on that one? What did you think about those promotions?
yeah, it's kind of quick, but at the same time, they deserved being promoted. They've both put up good stuff. Um, I'm more than anything else, I'm surprised with, and this is just organizationally in general, I'm surprised with how aggressive the Yankees are this year. Both with the major leagues, like you can see they're moving Jason, they're doing this, they're doing that, and then even, I mean, it's late April. We shouldn't be seeing promotions in late April.
I agree,
Historically speaking, I mean, we really don't see these big promotion jumps like this until Memorial Day.
right? Because you're talking about we are still like I'm looking at Tampa's stats. We're talking about the team leader in at bats is at 72.
Yeah,
And guys are getting promoted. That's where we are in the season. To your point, that they're getting promoted. This is different.
yeah. And I don't know which top it's coming from, if it's coming from, like a Cashman, or if it's coming from anybody else, in the player development side. Um, but it's refreshing to see. I know a lot of fans have been frustrated with how slow the organization moves and oh, well, he's 21 and other teams he would be playing in the major leagues. Yeah, but that's other teams that don't have the depth that the Yankees have.
Yeah, Toby, how about for you? From the outside looking in, does this seem like a philosophical change, or does this look like reaction to guys who've played above their level and need to move up? What do you think?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think like top to bottom, we're seeing like a different Yankees team, the way that they run, like sending Hill down to AAA, that never would have happened last year. DFA Grichuk now, that would never have happened. I think Grichuk would have been gone by the trade deadline, if anything.
Yeah.
That so it seems like from the top, they're operating in a completely new way and just trying to implement something within the farm from the farm system. And I think they realized to do that, we got to promote guys and we got to really follow up on the momentum that they are building for themselves. Did I think the Yankees would be promoting pitchers after their first three appearances of the year? No. But that's where we're at. And I mean, if we're gonna feed into their confidence and like I said, their momentum. I'm all here for it. You could always send them back down and reset, but you want to see what you got early on in the season. I don't hate that at all.
Yeah, when you say it like that, it sounds crazy, but that's what
Yeah.
happened. Yeah. Now, I'm wondering, what do you think about this? Now, obviously, the Yankee system had been panned by the experts. Do you think that created an environment where there was more opportunity for promotion? Do you think that has anything to do with it, or that's not necessarily related?
I don't know if it's really related. I think it's just a ton of guys that are off to hot starts, and it's them looking at themselves like, do we want to be the organization we've been for the last, God, I don't even know how long. I mean, since I've been really looking into the Yankees farm, or do we want to change something and do we want to be the Yankees again?
Yeah.
I think that, it's really just that they're deciding that, we need to change from within.
Yeah, so that we've got guys moving up to Somerset, and then there's guys moving out of Somerset on this topic. I gotta say, I'm gonna eat my words on this because I thought if George Lombard Jr. moves up to Scranton or is in the big league conversation, then something really bad is happening above him, and that's not the case, and he's moving anyway. So, how about our take on George Lombard's promotion here, John?
I'm happy with it. I was just thinking to myself about what Paul DeYoung was saying the other day, where either you got to put me on the major league roster or I'm gone, and it looks like George Lombard's ready to take your spot. And
Yeah.
you know what? Good for him. I thought he should have been in AAA to start the season with the way that he looked in spring training, and he's carried on his spring training momentum all the way through so far, from what it looks. And that doesn't really happen an awful lot. Normally it's, they get off the hot start and then you get to the colder weather and then your stats reflect that, but that hasn't happened with him. And kudos to him. Just like Caden Kent, they've both have had really hot starts. And Kent, like we were just saying, Kent deserves the promotion up, and just like Lombard has, because I think Lombard he was hitting close to 500 for the longest time.
Yeah. You brought up something important there that he's doing this in April and Kent's doing this in April. And Toby and I can both speak to this as residents of the state of New York. It hasn't been horrendous in terms of cold, but the weather's been crappy. Am I wrong, Toby?
No, you are not one bit.
So the fact that they're coming out like this in
Yeah.
adverse conditions, I think that's an important point.
Yeah.
Now, Toby, when we talked about this before, I wasn't as surprised to see Lombard go from Hudson Valley to Somerset last year. So going from A to double A, that promotion being aggressive makes sense. But going from double A to triple A seems to have implications for the major league team this year. What do you think about that?
Mhm.
I don't even really know what to think anymore because last time we recorded, we were talking about how we would have been comfortable with Lombard being in double A for a majority of the entire season.
Right,
So
right.
this makes me really not concerned, but curious about what they're going to do with Volpe, especially down the road in the season, because it absolutely puts Lombard in the big league conversation. The glove's ready to go up to the bigs. We hear people say that all the time. If he sustains this level of production against, I mean, what's likely much easier pitching than what he's going to go up against in double A, I mean, he's going to force their hand one way or another. And I don't know what the idea is going to be, but if the bat is there, we know the glove's going to play. It's just a matter of can we find a spot for him in the field? Like talked about Ryan McMahon a little bit. Since then, he actually has been a bit better.
Hmm.
But I think, this is like we talked about the kind of philosophical change. They're so bought into Lombard and that video they posted today of the promotion. I
Hmm.
mean, you see him getting a lift in the night before a doubleheader where he's like, I'm good to play both games. Like this kid's work ethic and just the love for the game and the love for grinding that he has, he carries himself at such a high level. And I think they want that to kind of rub off on the entire team.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought up the video that they posted. Am I wrong that the last time they posted, the player development posted a video of a player's promotion in the minor leagues, not AAA to the majors, was Jason Dominguez?
I
I think you're
think so,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. So does that tell us, I mean, Jason Dominguez, I don't think they were shy about treating him like their number one prospect. They're not shy about treating Lombard that way. You mentioned Ryan McMahon. Toby, would you think Ryan McMahon, in the eyes of the organization, is standing in the way of George Lombard, or is it what you just said? If he shows us he can hit, there's nobody standing in his way.
I'd hope they don't think of McMahon as a guy who's going to be in the way. I think he's just a like a piece you kind of just hold there until Lombard's ready. And I'm guessing if at the earliest it's June, July when they're going to think about calling him up. So I think at that point you're looking, maybe what can we do to get something back from McMahon, if
Mm,
anything.
yeah.
And I think it's kind of just like Lombard's going to fit the missing puzzle piece when the time is right. I think they're kind of just planning around that. I don't think McMahon's going to be like a roadblock like we see in other orgs for a lot of these corner infield guys or middle infield guys.
Yeah, John, Yankees traditionally don't let their top prospects spend a lot of time at AAA, do they? So, in that sense, do you feel like he might follow suit?
With the way that he's performing, I think they just need to prove that he can handle the advanced level. I don't see like looking at how he did in spring training against the major league pitching. I think that was a good test for him, and especially in front of Boone and in front of all of the other major league coaches. And he said during spring training that he was working with Giancarlo, and he was because everybody else was in the WBC, Judge, etc. But he was leaning a lot on Giancarlo, with his work ethic and his schedule and how does he approach batting practice and all this stuff. So the fact that they kept him in camp so long is a credit to both his work ethic and what the Yankees think of him. Um, and then kind of going back to what you were saying with Volpe, Volpe didn't stay long in AAA either. He didn't even spend AAA, I don't think, right? He
He,
just
he,
skipped
he was in
AAA.
AAA at the end of
Yeah,
season, and then he debuted in the big leagues at the beginning of the next year.
yeah. So I don't think it's going to be that short. I think, like Toby said, it's going to be, probably end of June, I would think, just before, like you were saying, get something for McMahon, call him up, whatever. But I'm curious if he and Caballero platoon shortstop, and then maybe they do something with McMahon and Lombard platooning third base, just to get Lombard's bat in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
But
the only question. I know Toby said it. That's the question for me, is if the bat is ready for the major leagues.
I think so.
And I'm still going off of what I saw at the end of last season, where he's getting beat by high fastballs, and if that adjustment has been made and the bat speed is ticked up and all those things are in place, that's not like I'm not a believer. He's a big leaguer. It's just a
Mhm.
matter of when. And the
Yeah.
fact that they're putting him on the track for it to be this year, I gotta say my eyebrows were raised by that one, but I'm not disappointed.
And again, that goes with how aggressive the Yankees are with promotions all around this year.
Yeah. And speaking of promotions, prospects of the week, Carlos had Elmer Rodriguez on the pitching side, and he made his major league debut today. And I was just thinking about the overall farm system, what this past week has meant for the health of it with these promotions, with guys making a big league debut, with people coming off the IL. So, Toby, what do you think this speaks to in the overall health of the farm system here when all these things are happening now?
I don't know how many guys we actually have currently on like the IL in the farm system, but to see guys coming back and to see, more guys getting promoted, like we keep talking about the aggressiveness with the entire system as a whole, it just speaks to, again, that like philosophical change that the Yankees seem to have adopted like in the offseason. And I mean, as Yankee fans, I feel like we're not totally like, we're a different story, but like casual Yankee fans are not like totally bought into the farm system. I feel like now seeing guys come back, seeing guys get promoted, I think they're starting to get the entire fan base more bought into the guys that we're going to be bringing up from within and not, just going out and buying players and, I mean, doing what teams like the Dodgers and the Mets do, where they have talent from within, but they keep buying players at the highest level. And I really like the look of that.
Yeah, that's a great point when you said the more casual fan is going to be down on the farm system because most of your nationwide publications in the offseason had the Yankees as a bottom third farm system. So, John, let's say they still are. Do you
I think they
care?
are.
Do
And I
you
think they are,
care?
yeah.
Does it matter?
Yes and no. So, yes, because they're not going to win championships if they're going to be bottom third, because you're going to have the Blue Jays, as an example, who have really revitalized their farm system in the past couple of years. They're going to be winning divisions, winning championships, etc. But at the end of the day, winning an Eastern League championship or a Sally League championship isn't the same as winning a World Series. I mean, that should be pretty apparent to any fan that's out there.
Sure.
So, while yes, you may have better teams and a better farm system overall, the results that come out of that farm system are what's most important. And the Yankees, I mean, any team will say that, but the Yankees' approach is we want to develop players that will both win us a World Series, but can help other teams in some ways win championships too. It's we're not all about benefiting ourselves. We want to be able to build players that can succeed in other teams. And you can see like TJ Rumfield, he's going crazy in Colorado. And the fact that they had him in the Yankees farm system for so many years because he didn't have a spot. He's not going to play over Ben Rice.
No, that's for sure. Right, they weren't going to give him an opportunity, but it's part of, and that's not a guy they drafted. That's a guy they acquired. But even what you've seen they've do, I'm going to start that sentence over again. What they've done in the draft in recent years, the number of players they are getting to the big leagues, whether they become stars or not, is a huge deal when you draft a player. We're talking about, even in this conversation, 20th round and 16th round and 14th round draft picks who are legitimate prospects. And we used to ignore those people, but we can't take any of them for granted now because of what they're bringing into their system. That part to me speaks to the health of it.
Hmm.
And
And
I asked
going
this, sorry, go ahead.
oh, just real quick, and going back to Ben Rice, you could talk about Ben Rice and Kim Schlittler both being middle of the draft guys.
Right.
And you know, everybody was looking at Jason Dominguez and Spencer Jones and Anthony Volpe, and Ben Rice got there before Spencer Jones did.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we're talking about, I mean, it's a Batman and Robin with Aaron Judge and Ben Rice, and that's incredible.
Yeah.
And you brought up the name Spencer Jones. And Toby, did you happen to catch Spencer Jones last night?
I saw what he did. Yeah.
Okay. I still contend that there is a very short list of people who hit a baseball like he hits a baseball. His first home run last night is a single for most players, and he hit it out. A breaking ball beneath his knees, and they use the term golfed it. To keep that ball to hit. I think he hit it 109 miles an hour, 350 feet. He's a special guy. So I keep saying the same thing, but Toby, if you just cover up the strikeouts, let's say he
Mhm.
strikes out at 35%, is he a major league player for you? A starter for you on the New York Yankees?
Starter, I don't know. Is he like a lethal good bench bat? Yeah. Um, on the New York Yankees right now, I don't know if he's a starter, especially with a 35% K rate. I'm just not sure. I don't know if you guys think differently now. It's so hard, especially when we see those highlights, like when he's golfing baseballs and hitting them like on a line drive bullet over the fence. Like you said, it should be a single for every other hitter.
Yeah.
Um, I just don't know.
I'm looking up Junior Caminero just because I've been doing a lot of race stuff. He hit in batting practice. I don't know how familiar you are with Tropicana Field, but the other day he hit a home run 450 feet and it hit the top of kind of like it was over where they have the cameras in the outfield. Let me see what his K rate is. So his K rate is, well, he's 15%. But that's the thing. Like the home run hitters, like a Junior Caminero, who I think won the home run derby last year. Um, the highest he was 22%.
Hmm.
But he's also recently revitalized his swing. But like I was gonna say, Junior Caminero hit a home run in batting practice the other day. He basically hit the back wall of the Trop, 500 plus feet easily.
Yeah.
insane power. I can see that with Spencer Jones. They have a similar kind of a that weird kick. Now he's not looking like he's going to drop a number two like Spencer Jones is, but whatever works. I'm not knocking him, but the strikeout rate for me with the Yankees is concerning. I think ultimately he's going to be a trade piece. Now he could be packaged with Ryan McMahon, like you were mentioning before. Maybe the two of them go to, I don't know, like a Cincinnati Reds or something like that, where they don't really need help right now, but a team like that where they don't really have an awful lot of power. They have an Ellie and then maybe Gino Suarez, but one of those kind of teams who they need the power or they need the outfielder or whatever.
Mhm.
I don't know if he's going to really benefit the Yankees right now. And at the same time, how long can you keep him in AAA?
Right.
That Grisham QO really, really hurt his chances in getting promoted. And
Yeah.
especially with Jason sitting on the bench and maybe not even that with the contusion he has.
So that's interesting. So they DFA Grichuk. Jason, that makes it look like Jason's going to stay and he's going to be the fourth outfielder or the 3.5 outfielder. And then he gets hit with a pitch and we don't know what that means. And now you DFA'd Grichuk. Does that mean you're playing Rosario in the outfield or you call up Oswaldo maybe and he becomes your jack of all trades again? Or is there a Spencer Jones for if this is just a bruise, then Dominguez is down for a week and a half? Is that something you think they would do, or this is not the time for his major league debut?
I don't know when the time would be. It's just like we talk about the strikeouts and everything, but when you get bumped up to the major league level and you're a guy who makes in zone contact at a rate lower than 70% right now, that to me is a little more alarming than the strikeouts.
Yeah, it's a
Like
good
we can
point.
live with the strikeouts if when, you're making contact, you're capitalizing on pulling the ball in the air and you're capitalizing on in zone contact. He's just not doing that. And I don't know if they see those numbers and are just like, we have better options available because they probably do. I mean, if they want a guy who's just going to go up there and maybe once out of the entire brief stint that he's going to have hit like one baseball over 118 miles an hour or whatever, that's what he can do. But he's not real. I just don't know if I'm confident in him going up there and really being much of an impact.
And I think that's the trick is they let you know when they believe in somebody. And I could say, look at those numbers, just cover up the strikeouts. You brought up the in zone contact, the whiff rate. That's important. And now you could say, well, if we just look at these other things in AAA, but AAA is not the big leagues. If you told me those are his numbers in the big leagues, if we just transpose them and those are his big league numbers, can you live with that?
I don't know. Like, I really don't know. Because
That's
that's the
what
thing is
makes him such a
he's gonna hit those
polarizing
homers and
prospect.
he's gonna sit in the highest like tier of exit velocities. And I'm sure the barrel metrics or whatever take a little bit of a dip against better pitching, but
Yeah.
he's always gonna hit the crap out of the ball. So I mean, like it's like when a baby sees like shiny things. Like it looks really cool in the moment, but the other 75% of the time when he's gonna swing and miss and strike out, Yankee fans are gonna call for his head.
Yeah. They're gonna give him a week and they're gonna boo the hell out of him after that.
And it kind of sounds almost a lot like Giancarlo. I mean, if you think about it, because
Yeah.
Giancarlo, if he's not tearing the cover off the ball, he's striking out and sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
And sure, from the Yankee fan perspective, all Spencer Jones would have to do is hit 97 playoff home runs before they turned around and praised him for it. It would just take
Yeah,
about a decade.
I mean, it's not hard, just.
He's just such an interesting guy to talk about and an interesting guy to have in the system. And that's something I wanted to ask you guys about. I find this to be interesting. Speaking of the overall health of the farm system right now, I'm feeling very optimistic about it. And I saw a stat today that made me feel even better. So we're all familiar with WRC plus, right?
Mhm.
As a stat. So little trivia here. Top 10 guys in the Yankee farm system in WRC Plus right now after about a month of baseball. What's your guess? And I'm going to give you one. One of them is Jason Dominguez because he's promoted. We'll just give you that one off the bat. So anybody else in the top 10 you can think of?
I know going into yesterday, Lombard was number two.
Yep, he's on the list.
I would think
Um,
Caden Kent would be probably number three.
He's on the
yeah.
list. So right now Lombard is three and Kenton's four.
Okay.
Is Luciano one?
He is five.
I was gonna say he's up there for sure.
Yep.
Because it's funny, I was just looking at this list like 2 days ago. Um, oh man.
I gotta look at the depth chart because if I don't look at the depth chart, I'm not gonna think of people.
Ernesto Martinez up there?
Is close. He's in the top
Close.
15. I'm gonna
Okay.
give you I'll give you teams to help you out. There's another Somerset guy. There's three Scranton Wilkes-Barre guys. There's a Tampa guy and a Hudson Valley guy that we haven't mentioned.
Kobe Morales, one of those
Kobe
guys?
Morales is two.
Oh,
Emmanuel
really?
Tejeda.
Tejeda is eight.
Yep.
Jay Savina up there? I know he's been doing a little bit better,
Not
but
there. Nope.
yeah.
You said Kobe Morales already, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So we're down to a Hudson Valley guy and three Scranton Wilkes-Barres.
Yankees up there?
I was just gonna say him.
He's not.
Really?
Hmm.
Schumann?
He is not.
All right, now I'm throwing out too many names.
So one of them we've discussed at length
It is
Spencer
Spencer
Jones.
Jones.
is Spencer Jones is 10. Now the other two guys are the names I wouldn't expect you to get. Ali Sanchez is nine.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And the number one hitter WRC plus in the farm system right now is Jonathan Ornelas. Now,
I could see that.
the point
Okay.
in this is that you've got on your top, what do you want to see in your top 10 for this comprehensive offensive stat? You want to see what would be considered your best hitting prospects, right? And do we in a month into the season? I think so.
Yeah.
On top of that, you've got Eric Genther, who I don't think we mentioned yet,
I
and
was
that's
gonna mention him earlier, yeah.
he's getting heat early in the season as being a prospect. Tejeda, who you want to see come back into the fold as a prospect after coming off injury. You got Luciano, who was a top 50 prospect in the game and is now hitting bombs at Double A. That to me is an exciting start to the season to the farm system, and I think it speaks to the trajectory of it at this point. So I want you to tell me then, John, your overall impression of the farm system about a month in. Optimistic, pessimistic, realistic? How are you feeling about it?
I'm optimistic, especially with a lot of those guys being considered non-prospects, like an Ali Sanchez. I mean, he's as far as I'm concerned, he's a non-prospect, but and same thing with the Jonathan Ornelas. Like, I would never expect him to be up there,
Mhm.
but you at the same time, the little bit that I saw of the two of them in spring training were very encouraging. Now, I wouldn't say the same thing about Marco Luciano. I never expected him to have this kind of a start in April with as cold as he was in spring training, despite how warm it was here. You would think it'd be the other way around.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, Toby, while he just brought up Marco Luciano, is it possible that this is a guy who reclaims top 100 prospect in the game status by the end of the year in the Yankee system? Do you think that ship has sailed? How do you feel about his trajectory? Is it too early?
I still think it might be a little early. I still feel the same way that I felt going into it. Like it would just be great, upper levels of the minor league depth to have in the system. I don't know if he's going to be able to reclaim that top 100 status or anything. But nonetheless, really great to see. I mean, what he's doing. He's got already like 7 bombs on the year.
Yeah, they hit two last night.
Yeah, he's been great, and I mean, I think we kind of jokingly said he's like playing a level down right now. So I mean, if he is doing that, I mean, he's playing like he is. So it's encouraging to see. Like John said, I'm optimistic.
Yeah, yeah, not wrong. We still have to remember he's in Somerset, and this is a guy who has has his big league debut already under his belt. So, but I'd rather have him right now than not have him. And he's just a really interesting and fun. He does not hit cheapies. I'll say that for him.
No.
All
And
right.
so looking at his stats, he has a K rate right now with Scranton of 28.7%, but he works a lot of walks, 11.3% walk rate. So,
With
you know,
him.
he strikes out quite a bit, but like I said, he's not hitting cheapies.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So what did we miss today? Is there anybody we didn't talk about you guys want to bring up before we wrap things up tonight? I don't want to speed through the end here if there's something we missed.
I mean, if you guys feel like we should go a little bit more into Elmer's debut, I know it wasn't like jaw-dropping, but
Let's go. Let's do it.
yeah. I thought, the command obviously we knew was going to be the biggest issue and the biggest concern. You go into your debut, you're going to have some jitters, especially on the road. So I don't blame him at all for walking four guys. And I think to have three strikeouts on top of that, it's not, not encouraging at all to see. Um, they talked about his poise so much on the pregame show that I just feel like he's going to build off of this so well, and he's going to turn around and make his next start way better. And if they eventually move him to the bullpen, whatever they end up doing with him, I think he's going to shine in that role eventually once we get down the road later into the season.
And I'm glad you brought that up because last week I asked Aaron, just in this thought exercise, would you rather have Elmer Rodriguez or Luis Gil make the next start in the Yankee rotation? And the Yankees answered that question for us. They picked Elmer.
Yeah.
And I think when he's good, he's in the rocking chair. It looks easy. And to your point, I don't think today was going to be easy. There's not a lot of chance that it was going to be easy. And so
Mhm.
I think some of the result was uncharacteristic, but I thought that Susan Waldman asked him an interesting question after the game, saying, like, were there pitches that you threw that AAA guys would have bid on and the major leaguers didn't? And it looked like he kind of considered that for a second and thought maybe. So, what do you think, John, about Elmer's ability to jump to the major leagues here? Albeit, I wouldn't expect it to be a long stay as long as people are healthy, knock on wood. But
Yeah.
what's your impression?
I think it's kind of like what we saw at Cam Schlittler, and it's kind of what we're going to see at a Cam Schlittler. We're going to get the same kind of dominance, maybe, maybe not quite to the level of what we're seeing out of Cam. But it's incredibly encouraging because you have to think of a rotation of Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon and Cam Schlittler or Will Warren, maybe Luis Gil if we get a resurgence of Luis Gil to his rookie of the year form. You're going to have so many, and Clark Schmidt's got to come back still too.
Yeah,
You're going to have what, 6, 7 pitchers that in some other teams may be considered a number one, number two.
yeah.
That's incredible to have that kind of rotation, especially when you're going to come up to the second half of the year.
I hate even talking about it because you feel like there's no way this lasts. And
That's the thing, yeah.
I mean, it is the most, it's the shakiest ground that you could possibly be on, feeling like you have starting pitching depth. It just, there's a reason why we're waiting for guys to come back. There's constant injury and turnover. But you're right. You have to feel really good about it right now.
And you still have LaGrange waiting in the wings in AAA because he's right there.
Yes. And I was just gonna say that we haven't even brought that name up. And
Yeah.
and that's with and Beck throwing his name into that conversation too, albeit I mean that's the kind of guy you want to be your ninth or tenth option and not your sixth. So that's what I think speaks to the health of what they
Yeah.
have. You made me think of another name at AAA who's pushing himself into the conversation. That's Giovanni Cruz. So is that a guy we might be talking about in the big leagues? He's not on the 40-man roster, so it's a different move. But results, 100 miles an hour, 26 years old, that's a prospect.
I don't know. I don't know any stats. I don't know if Toby has anything on him.
No, I don't know if he's getting thrown into the mix over some of the other guys that we mentioned. But
Not as a
that's
starter,
pretty,
but
that's for sure.
yeah, I still feel like that bullpen is still in tryout mode
Yeah.
for for the foreseeable future. All
But
right, go
if I
ahead.
was going to say, if you got guys that are going to go 7, 8 innings, if they stay healthy enough and they can go 6, 7, maybe 8 innings, and you just give the bullpen, you give it to Bednar or somebody more reliable. I mean, that almost feels like that's a World Series right there because pitching is, to me, most of it.
There's something to be said for not burning your bullpen out in April and May,
Yeah,
and then having the ability to maybe bring in reinforcements later on. There's a lot to be said for that.
yeah.
All right. So I think we got it covered, at least for now. All right. Appreciate you guys being on tonight. It's good being with you. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Hopefully, we'll see you next week on another episode of Yankees Farm Report. Good night.